Hi, this is Ed. Welcome to the Outer Light channel again. Well, before I go on, I'd like to thank my patrons for your continued support over the channel and just really helping it to keep on running. So something a little bit different today. I thought I'd just go into this long-lasting kind of narrative here with just something a bit more light-hearted perhaps. Of course, this has been going around a little while. I haven't commented, I don't think, on depth on this. I might have mentioned it in a video, I'm not sure. But this is in regarding the strange connections Donald Trump has to a number of different things, including Nikola Tesla, widely regarded as someone that invented the 20th century. Strange connections with individuals like this, and an old book called which seems to be named after Donald Trump's son there. Just really kind of weird, light-hearted stuff. Really graceful, done a great video on this. I'll link that in the comments section in regards to tying all this together. But I thought I'd just comment on it at last. Finally get there. So what does this all mean? Is there really any strange connections? Well, there is a few strange connections, but in order to understand what they are, we have to put what I'm talking about in a nutshell, of course. So there was a book written a while ago now. Let's just jump over to here. A number of books, as a matter of fact, written by this person here, an author called Lockwood, in regards to two books, as a matter of fact, that involved the adventures of someone called Barron Trump. Barron Trump, of course, happens to be the son of Donald Trump, of course. But, I'm not saying that there's the same individual in the novel, but just in a nutshell, that's the connection which gained interest in these kinds of things. This is called Barron Trump's Marvelous Underground Journey. And then there was a sequel to this, which actually talks about the downfall of the United States. Okay, so what's all this in regards to? Well, here is reported by Newsweek. This is, just last month, as a matter of fact. Did an author from the 1800s predict Trump's Russia and America's downfall? So kind of unusual. You look at it and you think, well, that's just weird. It's a conversation topic. Is it possible? I don't know. The world is pretty strange after all. But let's have a look at here and just a little bit of something more light-hearted. Instead of international conspiracies revolving around the M101 or Clinton Foundation or things like that, let's have a look at some little interesting things, because it seems like there's no one else that you've probably read about as much as Donald Trump that has these very strange connections. For instance, one strange thing about Donald Trump is the day that he was sworn in, as United States President, he was in fact 70 years old, 7 months old, and 7 days old exactly. And that's in itself is extremely strange coincidence. But Donald Trump seems to have a number of these. It's unusual. So this Lockwood, the author there, of these Barron Trump's Marvelous Underground Adventures, of course this is updated due to the nature of how interested people have become in this book, I guess, as say, strangely prophetic, a lot of coincidences, was an American political writer, lawyer, and novelist. He combined a unique mixture, and this is from Newsweek, of science fiction and fantasy in his novels from the late 1800s. Two of his most popular works of literature were illustrated children's stories focusing on a particular fictional character whose name rings a bell. In 2017, the name of the character was Barron Trump. So you might be saying, yes, that's a coincidence. That is a coincidence, quite unusual. It is unusual, actually. Trump, a very wealthy young man, Barron Trump, was living in Castle Trump. Okay, lives in Castle Trump. He is the protagonist of Lockwood's first two fictional novels, The Travels and Adventures of Little Barron Trump and His Wonderful Dog Bulger, and Barron Trump's Marvelous Underground Journey. There's two novels there. So very interesting. The little boy who has an unending imagination and a very active brain, is bored of luxurious life, living very wealthy in Castle Trump, he has grown so accustomed to. In a twist of fate, Trump visits Russia to embark on an extraordinary adventure that will shape the rest of his life. So Lockwood's first novel arrived in 1896, Lockwood's final novel titled The Last President. So let's look at some of these connections here. And of course, it's just a bit of fun, right? But it is unusual. The actual chances are pretty strange here of having the main character, Barron Trump, and the last novel, I guess, with these protagonists being called The Last President. Very unusual, but nonetheless possible. You know, there's lots of novels out there. Marvelous Underground Journey. There is the individual there. You can see it dressed in what looks like, I guess, Russian, pre-Soviet Union, kind of garb, so to speak. It looks like that. Or at least it's an interpretive. There's the dog there, if you can just see it bulger. Let's blow that up a little bit. See if we can get that a little bit larger so you can see it. There's the little dog there, and there is the name of the character, Barron Trump. So Trump goes to Russia on this marvelous underground journey, the first of these. So let's go down a little bit. And here is a Twitter. So the internet is going crazy about this book with Barron Trump in the title from 1893 with its sequel, The Last President. Reality is strange, I tell you. So many strange. Let's pull this back a little bit so we can get a little bit of... So here we are here again. There are some incredible connections to be made. This is from Newsweek. To the first family of the United States in Lockwood's novels from the turn of the 19th century. For starters, the main character's name is the same as President Trump's son, albeit spelt differently. Trump's adventures begin in Russia and are guided thanks to the directions provided by the master of all masters, a man named Don. Of course, seems very strange. You've got the real life Donald Trump, whose son's called Barron, and in this strange abstraction, you've got the Donald Trump. You've got Barron Trump, who's being guided by the master of all masters, a man named Don. It's very strange terminology there. The master of all masters. It's weird. I've heard that term a few times. Before leaving for his voyage through the unknown, Trump is told by his family's motto, "The pathway to glory is strewn with pitfalls and dangers." Strange. Illustrations from the novel depict Trump dressed in lavish old-fashioned clothing and jewelry. This is Barron Trump, as he departs from Castle Trump and begins his voyage heading to Russia to locate an entrance into alternative dimensions. But by Lockwood's third novel, this is the third one, The Last President, things become even more eerily linked to the present day. The story begins with a scene from a panicked New York City in early November. Remember when the presidential election is held in November there. Early November. Describing a state of uproar after the election of an enormously opposed outsider candidate. It's what happened with Donald Trump. Strange. The entire East Side is in a state of uproar. Police officers shouted through the streets, warning city folk to stay indoors for the night. Mobs of vast size are organizing under the lead of anarchists and socialists. Think of who doesn't like Donald Trump. Anarchists and socialists. Well, obviously there's different forms of socialism, but it's anarchists, it's, more weaker forms of socialism, And then there's the straight cultural Marxists or Marxists individuals, and then there's hyper-socialists which believe in that in the classical form. So they are the enemies of Baron Trump. Again, very strange coincidence. And threaten to plunder and despoil the houses of the rich who have wronged and oppressed them for so many years. Very strange, isn't it? Because Baron Trump lives in a castle, is extremely wealthy, Castle Trump. Donald Trump lives in Trump Tower, is extremely wealthy, and they have all of those strange kind of relationships there. If you just look at this on the surface, this already has more credence to it than a Notre Dame quatrain or whatever, because it has so many kinds of parallels. And here we have an interesting thing. The Fifth Avenue Hotel will be the first, this is from the book, to feel the fury of the mob, the novel continues, citing the address in New York City. Interesting. New York City, where Trump Tower now stands, actually on Fifth Avenue. So isn't that strange? Out of all of the locations, they picked the exact same location. This is before Trump, had any, was famous or anything, or his namesake was famous, or his family name. So here's from the book here, reading from this, circled by Jack Posobiec. The entire East Side is in a state of uproar. Mobs of vast side are organizing under the lead of anarchists and socialists and threaten to plunder, despoil the houses of the men who have wronged and oppressed them for so many years. Keep within doors, extinguish all lights. So this is interesting, isn't it? This elects Baron President of the United States. Baron Trump. Lockreed's creations have resurfaced online in recent weeks in forums on Reddit thanks to the number of 4chan users who shared images and conspiracy theories about the fantasy stories. Some claim the Trump family possesses a time machine that has allowed them to remain powerful to this day. The Last President doesn't follow the same fictional narrative of Lockreed's previous novels. Through the links to Trump are once again abundantly clear. The president's hometown of New York is fearing collapse of the Republic in this book, also titled 1900, immediately following the transition of presidential power. Some Americans begin forming a resistance, protesting what they see as a corrupt and unethical election process. It's very interesting, isn't it? There's a few other little things. I thought I'd just comment on this in case you weren't aware. Now this goes into really a crowdsourcing campaign over a film here now, based on these adventures. But if we come back here, we can see an analyst, this is Polka Dot Girl that I've commented on the past posts on Reddit Conspiracy. Very good analyses here. They were analysing, I've seen this today, analysing 1900, The Last President. This is, of course, the third, I think, the next installment, of the Lockheed author in regards to Baron Trump's adventures. So here we see, after reading it, they've come to another number of strange coincidences here. So they summarize all these. I'll put a link to this, don't worry, in the comments section. I thought the most interesting thing apart here for the references to Fifth Avenue, as Newsweek commented on, was just the way that kind of feels that Baron Trump within The Last President represented the interests of the common people. There's a lot of strange coincidences, right? Even stranger is really graceful. A number of other researchers commented on with strange connections with Donald Trump and Nikola Tesla, who's obviously referred to as the inventor of the 20th century, responsible for alternating current, There's read biographies about him, so I know quite a bit about him. And when he passed away, after inventing all this stuff, really passed away penniless and poor, the FBI came in and seized all of his documentation. Well, Donald Trump's, I think it was John Trump there, I think it was the grandfather of Donald Trump. Let's just check our information here. So after Nicole, this is of course posted on 4chan. This is a number together. I'm sorry if you can't see this very clearly. I'm going to blow it up a little bit, I think. After Nikola Tesla's death, the FBI ordered the alien property custodian, that's what they used to refer to it as, alien property being just, in these terms, this is predating the idea of aliens from outer space. Well, they were still out there, but in the public consciousness, this is referring to just foreign agency, foreign nationals or whatever within the United States. Ordered the alien property custodian to seize Tesla's belongings, even though Tesla was an American citizen. The National Defense Research Committee called an MIT professor to make sense of Tesla's notes in order to analyze if anything in them could be weaponized. That MIT professor was John Trump. Okay, there's John Trump right there, and there's Donald Trump. So, called into really graceful over here, Donald Trump used to sometimes mention John Trump, as regards to different things. I think really graceful refers to that, and he used to talk about nuclear before it was nuclear. So, it's possible. I mean, what did Tesla have in his laboratory, Just very strange bit of fun, of course. The probability of him having a time machine is low. But then again, the probability of Donald Trump ever winning the election was the smallest percentage you could even think of. But if there ever was a time traveler, probably be Trump right here, time traveling this up. So the MIT professor was John Trump. If you're not familiar with Tesla's theories in later years, he explored fantastic topics like free energy, anti-gravity, invisibility, and even time travel. Tesla was an interesting individual on many different levels. His mindset and the ability to think outside the box was really, you could say it was a different type of human. It was really a different type of human level. Why do I say that? Well, Nikola Tesla used to test the inventions in his mind. So he could test a motor in his mind, and he would just let it run in perfect clarity and just test where the wear on the motor would be, or after he ran it for a while, what the problems would be in his mind. Okay, very interesting character if you read about him. Really was inventing things. They're just completely amazing ideas. So here we can see John Trump claimed that there was nothing of any real substance in Tesla's notes, but this, of course, was a lie. He knew that the National Defense Research Committee realized what the notes contained. It could be the end of the world because it included in them were blueprints for a theoretical time machine. Of course, people are, kind of like, I think, playing a little bit. I don't know. Hey, you know what? Time travel, I think, could be totally possible. I don't know if Tesla had a time machine, but who really knows? I mean, I like to remain objective. The thing about time travel, though, if there's infinite dimensions, space and time, is what physicists talk about. And, there's things like retrocausality, where information from the future can affect the past, i.e. as if there was some kind of cataclysmic quantum event in the future, it could affect our reality now, travel back. Those kinds of theories which stem from the double slit experiment as a way to explain the differential there in the energy, as in the information sent back from the future is referring back to the past. That's why the subatomic particles there know how to behave, even though it looks anonymous to the now. I know, I can't even comprehend it, and I'm just a person of average intelligence, just thinking about these things. But nonetheless, maybe it's possible. Maybe dimensionalities are like that. And wouldn't that be wouldn't that be all 2018 needs? It's a time machine. Well, you probably need a time machine because literally Donald Trump's up against unamountable odds. But just a bit of fun here. So this I thought was very funny. But of course, yes, that connection is true with John Trump and the MIT professor and Nikola Tesla. I looked it up. It seemed like it was true to me. So, they go into this. There's a bit of kind of funny stuff here, and they're all kind of going back and forth. One strange thing is that in the Barron Trump novels, actually, as referenced here by Polka Dot Girl, Pence, I think it was Lafayette Pence, was the name of the agriculture that Barron Trump picked for agriculture, which of course is similar to Mike Pence, as seen here. So it's like a little bit of fun here. Just love this kind of stuff. Of course, it's such an interesting read. There's the corruption, Hillary Clinton. You might need a time machine to actually go back and stop her. Who really knows? She seems like a supervillain. Maybe, who really knows? But just a little bit of interesting coincidences there, I think, with this here. And of course, an analysis here. So let's read the conclusion here by Polka Dot Girl. I have to admit that reading this was tough and boring, but my conclusion I am getting from this book is that it's all planned. Perhaps the president has good intentions and perhaps he does not. Who is to say who is bad in this book? The North and South. They use as a dichotomy there for the left versus right into modern context. Ultimately, the Republic is destroyed. This is in The Last President. And the one eye, I have goosebumps. This is a very interesting phrase that comes near the end of the novel. References to a one eye. Let's have a look at that before we go a little bit further. So this is the creepy ending to The Last President. As dawn broke cold and grey, and its first dim light fell upon the shattered gloom, glorious even in its ruin, a single human eye, the all-seeing eye, this is Polka Dot Girls, a single human eye, filled a gleam of devilish joy, threw up at it long and steady, and then its owner was caught up and lost in the surging mass of humanity, and held the capital grit round and round. That's an interesting scenario there. The one-eyed, in the kingdom of the blind, the one-eyed man, so to speak. So it's so interesting. The one-eyed man, of course, is synonymous with the Illuminati, or the Eye of Providence at the top of the classical pyramid structure, the 12-step pyramid structure, which is a reference to a lot of different threads of mystic schools through the ages. The most dominant among those is, was referred to as the illuminated, or the heights of these mystic schools, Freemasonry, or take your pick, really. There's a number of different types of them. So it's a warning there to something. Of course, I haven't read the entire book myself. I'd have to read it to analyze it in depth. It is very interesting, though, a lot of these different things. So Trump causes much controversy. This is from the conclusion here. And maybe, just maybe, he really is looking out for the welfare of the people, just as President Barron seems to be. However, it seems that some more malevolent force has put him into office so that he can ultimately divide the people. Whether or not Barron is really for the common people in this book is hard to say, but it might be so, and I would say the same is true of Trump. Is he really for the common people, or is he part of an ultimate plan? What is for sure is that the division is most prominent part of this book. The common people versus the wealthy. Does that sound unfamiliar or familiar? I'm going to order the Marvelous Adventures series next and do an analysis on that if you're interested. Absolutely, we're interested in that, Polka Dot Girl. Very interesting analyses of the book there. Please remember that I'm actually saved you some time and read the book, so please do not attack me. Not attacking you at all. Very good work there, and shout out to Polka Dot Girl, whose work I've covered in the past. I think it's been a few months. I'm unsure now. It's been a little while. Definitely one of the great researchers and posters there on Reddit Conspiracy. And a very interesting analysis there of The Last President, which was the last book of the series there from these books right here. So you have the first two novels, The Travels and Adventures of Little Baron Trump and His Wonderful Dog Bulger, and Baron Trump's Marvelous Underground Journey. And then you have, I believe, the third one is the final novel, arrived in 1896, titled The Last President. The Last President, and then you have the all-seeing eye at the end. I believe Really Graceful mentions here in the eclipse symbolism coming, of course, at the end of August there, in regards to this strange phenomenon which is called the Great American Eclipse, which could be referred to, of course, as the one eye. Okay, it's also referred to a lot within cult ritual and ceremony. Definitely, if you even go to the abstract dimensions of that, dimensions as in the gradations of that, you can see that in a lot of the mystic schools worldwide, of course, that evolved out of astronomy and astrological kind of prediction, actually hail this as a major event. So something a bit more fun or maybe ominous, depending on how you take it, seems almost like Nostradamus there wouldn't have made better predictions for what was happening with the anarchists, the fake left-right paradigm, so to speak, which is just used in order to confuse people. People all want the similar thing if you come to the heart of it, and that's individual liberty, to be left alone to live their lives without interference. Most people. And of course they use the spectrum in order to change things, right? So have a look at this and decide for yourselves. I'll put a link to Really Graceful's video, of course, in the comment section. Really great channel if you're not subscribed to Really Graceful. Excellent channel, excellent researcher. And put a link to Really Graceful's video in the comment section. Also a link to this Newsweek article, and of course the analyses of the third book there, I believe it is, called by Polka Dot Girl. Really got a lot of references there. And if you're up for it, a link to this as well, which is the famous 4chan post, or this is the image of it, collection here, is Trump as a time traveler. Bit lighthearted, but strangely a lot of connections there. He even references the notorious John Titor there, who's famous from esoteric lore, is trying to go back in time, made famous, of course, by Coast to Coast AM. Under Art Bell, I believe, was the first to interview that individual. Of course, Art Bell has long since jumped ship. Now it's run by the new captain, George Norrie. Nonetheless, the whole John Titor there. In the meantime, though, I will go ahead and have a look. I've got another video coming. But go ahead and do your own research. Decide for yourselves what to believe. All links will be placed in the comment section. And until next time, stay safe, and I'll see you all later.